There are moments in life that change everything. Moments so quiet you almost miss them. But once they happen, you can never unhear the words. Never unfeel the weight they leave behind. I remember that afternoon like it was yesterday. The sun was pouring through the kitchen window. I was washing dishes. My hands were warm under the running water. The smell of coffee still hung in the air. Everything felt normal. Peaceful even. My daughter-in-law was sitting at the table with her sister. They were talking. Laughing. I wasn't really listening at first. I was just there. Present. Part of the background of their conversation. Then I heard my name. Not spoken to me. Spoken about me. Her sister asked something. Something about family plans. About whether I would be included in some upcoming event. I don't even remember what it was anymore. A holiday maybe. A dinner. Something small. And my daughter-in-law answered. She said it so easily. So casually. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. She said I wasn't really family. Not in those exact words. But close enough. She said something like blood is different. That her parents were her real family. That I was just her husband's mother. Not hers. I stood there. My hands still in the soapy water. I didn't move. I didn't turn around. I just kept washing the same plate over and over. I felt my chest tighten. My throat closed up. But I didn't let them see. I didn't say a word. Because what could I say? She didn't say it to hurt me. She said it because she believed it. And that was worse. I finished the dishes. Dried my hands. Walked out of the room quietly. No drama. No tears. Not yet. But something inside me broke that day. Something I didn't even know I had been holding on to. I had spent years trying to be enough. Trying to make her feel welcomed. Trying to build something between us. And in one sentence, I realized none of it mattered. To her, I was never going to be family. I was just the woman who raised the man she married. Nothing more. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My son was asleep in the next room. His wife beside him. I wondered if he knew. If he heard the way she spoke about me. If he even cared. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just felt hollow. Like all those years of love and effort had been poured into a cup with no bottom. And I realized something in that silence. I realized I had been waiting. Waiting for her to see me. To choose me. To let me in. But I was done waiting. From that moment on, I decided something. I would not beg to be loved. I would not fight for a place I was never given. I would step back. Quietly. With grace. And let them feel what it's like when I'm no longer trying. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop. Stop explaining. Stop reaching. Stop hoping. And just let silence do the teaching. I think about family a lot. What it means. What it's supposed to feel like. For me, family was never about blood. It was about showing up. About being there when it mattered. About love that didn't need a reason. I learned that from my own mother. She wasn't perfect. None of us are. But she taught me that love is a choice you make every single day. When my son was born, I made that choice. I chose him. I chose to give him everything I had. Even when it was hard. Even when I was alone. His father left when he was 3. Just walked out one day and never came back. No explanation. No apology. Just gone. I could have fallen apart. I could have let that bitterness swallow me whole. But I didn't. Because I had a son who needed me. So I worked. 2 jobs most of the time. I missed sleep. I missed meals. I missed moments I'll never get back. But I made sure he had what he needed. A roof over his head. Food on the table. A mother who loved him without condition. I didn't do it for recognition. I didn't do it so one day he would owe me. I did it because that's what love is. It's giving without keeping score. And when he grew up and met her, I was happy. I really was. I thought this is it. This is the family we've been waiting for. I welcomed her with open arms. I made space for her in my life. In my heart. I tried to show her that she wasn't just marrying my son. She was joining something bigger. I thought we would grow together. That over time, she would see me not as an outsider. Not as the mother-in-law. But as someone who genuinely cared. I imagined holidays where we all sat around the same table. Birthdays where I wasn't just invited out of obligation. Moments where I wasn't just tolerated. Where I was wanted. But that's not what happened. From the beginning there was distance. A coldness I couldn't quite name. She was polite. Always polite. But polite isn't the same as warm. She smiled when she had to. Said the right things when my son was around. But when it was just us, the mask slipped. I could feel it. The way she looked at me. Like I was an inconvenience. A reminder of a life that came before her. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just adjustment. That she needed time. That eventually things would change. But they didn't. Every time I reached out, I was met with walls. I would offer to help with something. She would say no thank you. I would ask about her day. She would give short answers. I would invite them over for dinner. She would find an excuse. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. But it was constant. And my son said nothing. He didn't defend me. He didn't ask her to try. He just stayed silent. Like staying neutral was the same as keeping the peace. But silence isn't peace. Silence is permission. And every time he stayed quiet, it told her that what she was doing was okay. I started pulling back. Not all at once. Just little by little. I stopped offering help she didn't want. I stopped asking questions she wouldn't answer. I stopped waiting for invitations that never came. I became smaller in their lives. Not because I wanted to, but because there was no room for me. And the hardest part wasn't the rejection. It was realizing that the family I had imagined didn't exist. That no matter how much I loved them, I would never be loved the same way back. There's a difference between being included and being wanted. I learned that difference slowly. Painfully. They invited me to things. Birthdays. Holidays. Family gatherings. But I always felt like a guest. Like someone who was there because it would look bad if I wasn't. I would sit at the table and smile. I would bring gifts. I would ask about their lives. I would try to be present. But I was invisible. Conversations happened around me. Decisions were made without me. Plans were set that I only heard about later. I wasn't part of the circle. I was just near it. And my daughter-in-law made sure I knew it. It wasn't through cruelty. It was through indifference. She didn't yell. She didn't insult me. She just treated me like I didn't matter. When they bought their first house, I found out from a neighbor. When they planned a vacation, I saw the photos on social media. When she got a promotion at work, my son mentioned it weeks later like it was old news. I wasn't part of their joy. I was just someone they updated when they remembered. Her parents, though. They were different. They were always around. Always included. Always the first to know everything. And I understood. I really did. Those were her parents. Her family. Of course they came first. But my son was my family too. And I had raised him to believe that family meant something. Apparently, it only meant something when it was hers. I watched her call her mother every day. I watched them have long conversations filled with laughter and ease. I watched her parents come over unannounced. Welcomed. Comfortable. At home. And I thought about the last time I had been in their house. How I knocked. How I waited to be let in. How I asked if it was okay to stay for tea. I was a visitor in my own son's life. And he let it happen. There was one moment that broke me more than the rest. It was my birthday. I didn't expect much. I never do. But I thought maybe they would call. Maybe stop by. Maybe just acknowledge it. They didn't. The day came and went. I spent it alone. I made myself dinner. I sat in the quiet. I told myself it was fine. And then, 2 days later, my son called. He apologized. Said they forgot. Said they were busy. Said they would make it up to me. But her birthday had been the month before. And I knew exactly how they celebrated. There was a party. Flowers. A cake. Photos everywhere. Because her birthday mattered. And mine didn't. I didn't say anything. I just said it was okay. That I understood. But I didn't. I didn't understand how the person I gave my whole life to could forget me so easily. How love could be so conditional. So one-sided. I started asking myself hard questions. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? What could I have done differently? But the truth is, I didn't do anything wrong. I just loved people who didn't know how to love me back. And that wasn't my fault. It was theirs. There comes a point where you stop fighting. Not because you don't care anymore, but because you finally understand that some people will never see you the way you need to be seen. That moment came for me on a random Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. Nothing loud. Just a small moment that made everything clear. I had stopped by their house. I didn't call ahead. I know I should have. But I had something for them. Something small. A dish I made. Something I thought they might like. I knocked. Waited. My daughter-in-law opened the door. She looked surprised. Not happy. Just surprised. She didn't invite me in right away. She just stood there, blocking the doorway. I smiled. Held up the dish. Said I thought they might enjoy it. She took it. Said thank you. Then she just stood there. I waited for her to say something. To ask me in. To offer me a moment of her time. But she didn't. She just said they were busy. That she would let my son know I stopped by. And then she closed the door. I stood there on the porch. Holding nothing. Feeling everything. And I realized something. I was done. Done trying. Done hoping. Done pretending that if I just gave a little more, things would change. They wouldn't. Because the problem was never me. It was them. I drove home in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I just felt calm. Like a weight I didn't know I was carrying had finally been lifted. I decided that day that I would stop shrinking myself to fit into their lives. I would stop waiting for permission to be loved. I would stop giving my heart to people who didn't know how to hold it. I didn't make a big announcement. I didn't confront anyone. I just stopped. Stopped calling as much. Stopped offering. Stopped showing up where I wasn't truly wanted. I pulled back. Quietly. With dignity. And I focused on myself. I started spending time with friends I had neglected. I joined a book club. I started painting again. Something I hadn't done in years. I filled my life with things that brought me peace. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. My son noticed eventually. He called one day. Asked if everything was okay. Said I seemed distant. I told him I was fine. That I was just giving them space. That I didn't want to intrude. He didn't push. He just said okay. And that was it. Part of me hoped he would ask more. That he would realize something was wrong. That he would fight for me the way I had always fought for him. But he didn't. And that told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just done expecting people to be something they weren't. I had spent so many years trying to earn a place in their family. But I finally understood. You can't earn love. You can't force connection. You can't make someone see your worth if they've already decided you don't have any. So I stopped trying. And I started living for myself. Months passed. Quiet months. Peaceful months. I didn't hear from them much. A text here and there. A short phone call on holidays. Nothing deep. Nothing real. And I was okay with that. I had built a life that didn't revolve around waiting for them to notice me. But then something happened. Something I didn't expect. My son called me late one night. His voice was shaken. Tired. He said they needed help. That things had been hard. That they were overwhelmed. He didn't say what it was at first. Just that they were struggling. And for a moment, I felt that old pull. That instinct to drop everything and run to him. But I didn't. I stayed calm. I asked what was wrong. He told me his wife had been sick. Nothing serious. But enough that she couldn't work for a few weeks. And with her not working, money was tight. They were behind on bills. Stressed. Barely keeping it together. And her parents couldn't help. They were dealing with their own problems. So he called me. I listened. I didn't say much. I just let him talk. And then he said something that surprised me. He said she had been asking about me. That she noticed I hadn't been around. That she wondered if I was upset. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. But because it took me disappearing for her to even notice I existed. I told him I wasn't upset. That I was just living my life. That I had given them the space they seemed to want. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. He said he was sorry. That he should have said something sooner. That he didn't realize how much I had been pushed aside. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to be angry. To tell him that sorry wasn't enough. That he should have seen it years ago. But I didn't. Because anger wouldn't change anything. I just told him I appreciated him saying that. And then I asked him what he needed. Not because I was obligated. But because despite everything, I still loved him. He asked if I could help. Not with money. But with time. With support. With just being there. And I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could have said no. I could have reminded him of all the times I was pushed away. All the times my help wasn't wanted. But I didn't. Because that's not who I am. I told him I would come by. That we could talk. That I would see what I could do. But I also told him something else. I told him that things couldn't go back to the way they were. That I wouldn't go back to being invisible. That if I was going to help, it would be on my terms. He agreed. He said he understood. And for the first time in years, I felt like he actually heard me. I showed up the next day. I didn't bring anything. I didn't make a big gesture. I just came. My daughter-in-law answered the door. And this time, she looked different. Her eyes were tired. Her face pale. She looked smaller somehow. Like life had humbled her. She didn't say much at first. Just stepped aside and let me in. We sat in the living room. The three of us. And it was awkward. Heavy. My son started talking. Explaining everything. The stress. The bills. The exhaustion. And I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't offer solutions right away. I just let them speak. And then my daughter-in-law did something I never expected. She cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet tears that she tried to hide. She said she was sorry. That she had been proud. That she didn't realize how much she had shut me out. She said she had been so focused on keeping her own family close that she forgot I was family too. She said when things got hard, she realized who had always been there. Who had always offered help without expecting anything in return. And she said she missed me. I didn't say anything right away. I just let her words sit between us. Because I needed to know if she meant it. If this was real. Or just desperation. She looked at me. And for the first time, I saw something I had never seen before. I saw regret. I saw guilt. I saw someone who finally understood what they had lost. And then she said something that broke me and healed me at the same time. She called me Mom. Not mother-in-law. Not by my first name. Ma. Her voice cracked when she said it. Like the word was too big for her mouth. Like she didn't know if she had the right to say it. But she said it. And I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But the beginning of something. A door that had been closed for so long finally opened just a crack. I reached out and took her hand. I didn't say it was okay. Because it wasn't. Not yet. But I told her I heard her. That I saw her. That I was willing to try. And that was enough for now. Things didn't change overnight. Healing never does. But slowly, things started to shift. My daughter-in-law started reaching out. Not just when she needed something. But just to talk. To check in. To share things. She asked me about my life. My hobbies. My friends. Things she had never cared about before. And I answered. Carefully at first. But honestly. She started inviting me over. Not out of obligation. But because she wanted me there. She would call me just to say hi. To tell me about her day. To ask my opinion on things. And my son finally stepped up. He stopped being silent. He started acknowledging the hurt. The distance. The years I spent on the outside. He didn't make excuses. He just owned it. And he promised to do better. And he did. He made sure I was included. He made sure my voice was heard. He made sure I knew I mattered. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments. Still times when old habits crept back in. But the difference was now they noticed. And they corrected it. One afternoon, My daughter-in-law asked if I wanted to go shopping with her. Just the two of us. I said yes. We spent the day together. Trying on clothes. Laughing. Talking about things that didn't matter and things that did. And at one point, she stopped in the middle of the store and looked at me. She said thank you. For not giving up on them. For coming back even when she didn't deserve it. I told her that love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. And I chose to give her another chance. Not because she earned it. But because I wanted to. We hugged in the middle of that store. And it felt real. Like we were finally building something honest. Something that wasn't forced. Or polite. Or fake. Something that might actually last. My son and I had a long talk one evening. Just the two of us. He apologized again. But this time, he didn't just say sorry. He explained. He said he had been scared. Scared of choosing sides. Scared of losing his wife. Scared of making things worse. So he chose silence. And in doing so, he chose her over me. He said he didn't realize how much that hurt me. How much I had sacrificed. How much I had given without asking for anything in return. He said he took me for granted. Because I was always there. And he assumed I always would be. But when I stepped back, he felt it. And it scared him. Because he realized what life would look like without me. And he didn't want that. I told him that I understood fear. That I understood wanting to keep the peace. But I also told him that silence is a choice. And sometimes, it's the wrong one. I told him that love isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about standing up for the people who matter. And I mattered. I should have mattered enough for him to speak up. He cried. My strong, grown son cried in front of me. And he said he was sorry. Over and over. And I believed him. Because this time, his apology came with action. He didn't just say he would do better. He did better. He checked in on me. He made plans with me. He made sure I was part of their lives. Not as a guest. But as family. And that made all the difference. Months turned into a year. And things continued to grow. My daughter-in-law and I built something I never thought we would have. A real relationship. One based on mutual respect. On effort. On care. She started calling me Mom regularly. And every time she did, it felt a little more natural. She asked me for advice. She shared her fears. She let me in. And I did the same. I told her about my life. My past. My struggles. The things I had never shared before. And she listened. Really listened. We weren't perfect. We still had moments of misunderstanding. Moments where old wounds resurfaced. But the difference was, now we talked about it. We didn't let it fester. We didn't let silence win. We chose honesty. Even when it was uncomfortable. And that made us stronger. One day, she told me something that made me cry. She said I had taught her what it meant to love without conditions. To give without keeping score. To show up even when it's hard. She said her own mother loved her. But it was a love that came with expectations. With demands. With strings attached. But my love was different. It was quiet. It was steady. It was free. And she said she wanted to love like that. She wanted to be the kind of mother I was. The kind of person I was. And hearing that I had impacted her in that way. It was everything. Because it meant that all those years of pain weren't wasted. They were lessons. They were growth. They were the foundation for something better. I think about that day in the kitchen a lot. The day I heard those words. The day I learned I wasn't family. And I realize now that she was right. I wasn't family. Not then. Because family isn't just a title. It's not just blood. It's not just a legal bond. Family is something you build. Something you choose. Something you earn through love and time and effort. And back then, we hadn't built that yet. But we did. Eventually. It took pain. It took distance. It took loss. But we got there. And now, when she calls me Mom, I know she means it. Not because she has to. But because she wants to. And that makes all the difference. I learned something through all of this. I learned that you can't force people to see your value. You can't beg for a place in someone's heart. But you also can't give up on yourself. You can't shrink. You can't disappear. You have to stand firm. You have to know your worth. You have to be willing to walk away if that's what it takes. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to teach people what they're losing. I didn't leave out of spite. I didn't leave to punish them. I left because I deserved better. And I wasn't going to settle for less. And in doing that, I gave them the chance to see me clearly. To miss me. To choose me. And they did. Not perfectly. Not immediately. But genuinely. And that's all I ever wanted. Today, I sit in their living room and I feel at home. Not as a guest. Not as an outsider. But as family. My daughter-in-law and I laugh together. We cook together. We share stories and secrets and dreams. My son looks at me with gratitude. With respect. With love that he's no longer afraid to show. And I look at them and I feel proud. Not because they're perfect. But because they grew. Because they chose to do better. To be better. To love better. And so did I. I'm not the same woman I was when this started. I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm more certain of who I am. I don't need anyone's approval to know my worth. I don't need anyone's validation to feel whole. I am enough. I always was. And the people who truly matter see that now. We gathered for dinner last week. All of us. My son. His wife. Me. And as we sat around that table, my daughter-in-law reached over and squeezed my hand. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Because in that moment I felt it. I felt seen. I felt valued. I felt loved. And I realized something beautiful. That sometimes the family you're born into isn't the one you end up with. Sometimes the family you build is the one that matters most. And this was my family now. Not because of blood. Not because of obligation. But because of choice. Because of effort. Because of love that was tested and proven and real. And that's the kind of family worth fighting for. I look back on everything now and I don't feel anger. I don't feel bitterness. I feel peace. Because I know that every painful moment led me here. To this place. To this understanding. To this love. I wouldn't change it. Not the hurt. Not the distance. Not the words that cut so deep. Because they taught me something I needed to learn. They taught me that I am strong. That I am worthy. That I don't need to beg for love. They taught me that real family shows up. That real love makes space. That real connection takes effort from both sides. And they taught me that it's never too late to start over. To rebuild. To choose love again. My daughter-in-law and I aren't perfect. We probably never will be. But we're real. We're honest. We're trying. And that's more than enough. She calls me Mom now. And every time she does, my heart swells. Not because I needed that title. But because I know what it means. It means she sees me. She values me. She loves me. And that's all I ever wanted. To be seen. To be valued. To be loved. Not as an obligation. Not as a burden. Not as someone on the outside looking in. But as family. Real family. The kind that's built on respect and care and the choice to keep showing up even when it's hard. And I did. I kept showing up. Even when I stepped back, I never truly left. Because that's what love does. It endures. It waits. It hopes. And when the door finally opens, it walks back in with grace. If you're reading this, if you're listening to this story, and you see yourself in it, if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever felt unwanted, if you've ever questioned your worth because of how someone treated you, hear me when I say this. You are enough. You always were. You always will be. And if people can't see that, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to walk away with your head held high and build a life that reflects your value. Because real love doesn't make you small. Real love doesn't make you question yourself. Real love doesn't make you beg. Real love sees you, chooses you, honors you. And if you don't have that yet, don't settle. Don't shrink. Don't give up pieces of yourself just to be accepted. Stand firm. Know your worth. And trust that the right people will see it. It might take time. It might take distance. It might take pain. But it will come. And when it does, it will be worth every single tear you cried along the way. I'm sitting on my porch now. The sun is setting. The sky is painted in shades of pink and gold. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my daughter-in-law. She's asking if I want to come over tomorrow. Just for coffee. Just to talk. And I smile. Because this is what I fought for. This is what I waited for. Not grand gestures. Not apologies that mean nothing. But small moments. Daily choices. Consistent love. I text her back. I say yes. I'd love to. And I mean it. Because I'm not holding on to the past anymore. I'm not keeping score. I'm not waiting for her to prove herself over and over. I'm just choosing to be present. To be open. To be here. And that's enough. For both of us. I set my phone down and close my eyes. I feel the breeze on my face. I hear the birds in the distance. And I feel something I haven't felt in years. I feel free. Free from the need to be perfect. Free from the fear of rejection. Free from the weight of trying to earn love. I am free. And I am whole. And I am loved. Not because I forced it. Not because I begged for it. But because I stood firm. I walked away. And I let them see what life was like without me. And when they came back different. They came back ready. They came back willing. They came back with love that was real. And that's the love I was always meant to have. So here's what I know now. Family isn't about titles. It's not about blood. It's not about obligation. Family is about effort. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other every single day. And when you find that, when you build that, when you earn that, hold on to it. Because it's rare. It's precious. It's worth every moment of pain it took to get there. My daughter-in-law calls me mom now. And I finally feel like I belong. Not because I forced my way in. But because she opened the door and invited me. And that makes all the difference. This is my story. This is my truth. This is my peace. And if you're still searching for yours, don't give up. It's coming. And when it arrives, you'll know it was worth the wait.